This is why you should never try to investigate when you hear strange noises. Once there was a boy named Tom who was walking to school when he saw a photo lying on the grass outside. He picked it up and saw it was of one of the most beautiful girls he'd ever seen. She was wearing a dress, red shoes, and had her hands formed into a peace sign with 2 fingers up. When he got to school, he showed the picture to his friends in hopes that they would know who she was, but no one knew. That night, he woke up to strange tapping noises on his window. It sounded like someone had crawled up to his window and was tapping on it with their nails. He saw a faint shadow, but ignored it and tried to go back to sleep. The next night, he heard the tapping noise again. This time, he got up and tried to go outside to investigate, but right as he ran out, he was hit by a car. The driver came out of the car and tried to help him, but it was too late. He then found the picture next to his body. He saw a girl holding up 3 fingers. This is why you should never reply to a stranger's email. John got an email from 2 girls claiming to be his sisters, even though he was an only child. What's even stranger is that these girls claimed that they were murdered in his house. They were found skinned in the closet. When the investigation failed and no one was found responsible, the parents decided to move on with the new baby. That baby was John, who grew up without knowing anything about his sisters. That's what the emails claimed anyways. John replied to this email saying that he didn't believe them, but that was his fatal mistake. Minutes later, he got another email. It said, "If you don't believe us, look in the closet." The next morning, John was gone. His parents called the police, who found the emails on his laptop and the closet door slightly open. Then they saw what would shock them. They found John in his closet, also skinned alive. Nowhere in the house was there any sign of an intruder. Then when they looked closer, they found something else. A row of faint writing on the wall that read Lisa and Sarah 1993. Then just below it, freshly carved into the wood, John 2007. This is why you should stay away from vending machines. Once a man named Haruo went fishing and stopped along the way to get something to drink from a vending machine. He got 2 bottles of vitamin juice that's very popular in Japan. Halfway through his second bottle, he started feeling sick. A few hours later, he was rushed to a local hospital in central Japan for internal chemical burns. Medical staff was unable to save him. The next night, he stopped breathing. In the 1980s in Japan, an unknown person who has still not been caught to this day had poisoned vending machine drinks, killing at least 10 people and seriously harming more than 30 in only a few months. The poison that was used was a herbicide that can easily be bought. Even if it just touches your skin, it can cause blisters, rapidly sinking deeper and burning your blood vessels. The bottled drink was either put inside or near the vending machines, just waiting for someone to take a sip. Not only is this terrifying because of how random the victims were, but it also caused a whole series of copycat crimes that was even more terrifying. Follow for part 2. This is why you should be careful when trying homemade skincare. There's an urban legend about a girl in Korea who tried a DIY skincare treatment at home, but she could have never guessed how terribly wrong it would go. So this girl felt quite insecure about her looks, especially her skin. She wanted to have smooth and silky skin and was ready to do anything to get it. One day she learned about this new skincare treatment you could do at home. All you need to do is mix some sesame seeds in bath water and sit in it. It was supposed to stimulate your skin. It sounded simple enough, so she decided to try it. She went home, filled her bathtub with warm water, and added a jar of sesame seeds. But a few hours later, the girl still hadn't come out of the bathroom. Her parents started to get worried. They knocked on her door several times, but every time the reply would be just a minute, until her mother forced the door open to see if she was okay, but what she saw would terrify her forever. Her daughter was sitting on the bathtub. Her skin was covered from head to toe in black holes. The girl had a crazed look in her eyes, and she was digging into her skin with a pair of tweezers. The sesame seeds had sunken deep into her pores. If you're ever studying late at night, don't do what she did. One night, a girl was studying alone in the library. It was around 2 in the morning, so she was getting pretty tired. But as soon as she shifted her books around, she noticed something strange. It was a website URL written on the desk. This made her curious, so she went on one of the computers in the library and typed in the website. But what she saw sent chills down her spine. It was a photo of a woman walking down a busy street, but it looked like it was taken from a distance, and the woman didn't know that she was being photographed. This made the girl feel uneasy, so she shut down the computer, grabbed her things, and left. But the next day, she became more curious. She thought it must be some kind of a joke, but she was too tired to notice, so she went back and typed in the website again. But this time, the image had turned into something terrifying. It was the same woman lying on the floor with a knife in her chest. The girl shut off the computer and called the police. After the call, she opened the computer again, but the photo had changed. It was now a photo of a girl in a library, taken from the back. It was a photo of her looking at the website. Underneath the photo was the caption, "You are my next internet star." Have you ever felt like you're being watched but didn't know why? For Elise, this feeling would lead to a terrifying discovery. She had just gone through a really messy breakup and had to move out. She found a studio apartment on the other side of town, but when she got there, she saw a bunch of things were left behind, including books, clothes, and a long mirror propped up against the wall in front of the bed. But when she called the landlord, he said that the previous renter didn't want them anymore, so Elise put everything in a bag to deal with later. She decided to keep the mirror though. She went to bed that night and woke up to soft rustling noises. She began to feel uneasy. She looked around and swore that she saw a long shadow move across her room, but maybe it was just the trees. She tried to ignore it, but all through the night she felt a pair of eyes on her. The next day she convinced herself she must have just been feeling anxious because it was her first night living alone. But she went to bed again and couldn't sleep. She heard the same rustling noises, opened her eyes, and saw a long shadow was now standing in front of her bed. She turned away for a second to turn the light on, but stumbled, and before she knew it, the shadow was gone. When she woke up, she took the bag of the previous renter's things and decided she didn't want the mirror either. She pushed it out of the way and found behind it was a huge hole that someone had dug to get to her. Have you ever felt like you're being watched by someone or something while being entirely alone? Once there was a hunter who was in the middle of the woods. After a long day of hunting, he had lost his bearings, so he just decided to go one direction until he could find a way out. After a few hours, he found a small cabin. Having no other choice as it was getting really dark, he decided to see if he could stay there for the night. The door was open, no one was inside. He went on the bed and just decided he would apologize and explain himself to the owner of the cabin in the morning. But as he tried to go to sleep, he saw the entire cabin was decorated with portraits, all painted in extreme detail. Their faces weren't normal. They were all twisted, angry, and hateful. These disturbing paintings made him really uncomfortable, but he just tried to ignore them as much as he could and went to sleep. As he woke up the next morning, he got up from the bed and realized that there are no portraits on the walls of the cabin at all. Instead, they were windows. The true story of the woman who helped over 600 other women poison their husbands. In 17th century Italy, women were still considered men's property. Marriages were pretty much always prearranged or financially motivated. So if your husband was abusive, you were pretty much just stuck with him. But when one woman was executed for killing her abusive husband, her daughter started a business of her own. Giulia Tofana decided to start helping abused wives. She was a well-known makeup seller, so that helped her get connected with other women. She created and sold the Aqua Tofana, a mix of lead, belladonna, and a bunch of other ingredients. It had no color, no taste, and it was slow working, so it couldn't be detected. And she disguised this poison as makeup. Eventually though, one of her clients had second thoughts and ended up ratting on her. Giulia then confessed to helping over 600 women kill their husbands and was executed. If you play an instrument, don't do what he did. Once there was a man known as the best guitar player in the world. He would play on the streets of his city and he made quite a good living from it because everyone knew who he was, until one day something terrifying happened. A rich man came up to him and said he wanted to hire the guitar player to perform at his private party. The guitar player agreed instantly. He arrived at the rich man's mansion, full of people waiting to see him play, and afterwards at night he walked home alone. That's when something he could never explain happened. He heard a sound coming from the bushes behind him, and suddenly a stranger appeared. This stranger asked, "That's a very beautiful guitar, can I play it?" The guitar player agreed and handed it to him, and this stranger played even better than he did. He was shocked and said, "That's amazing." The stranger replied, "Of course, I was a guitar player when I was alive." The guitar player ran and ran, not even looking back to get his guitar back. He thought this would be the end of it, but he was wrong. The next day, he opened up his door to find his guitar lying there, and a ghostly voice coming in from the hallway saying, "Here, I brought your guitar back." This is why you should never reply to a stranger's email. For a boy named John, one mysterious email would change everything. So one day John went on his laptop to find an email from two girls. These two girls claimed that they were his older sisters, which confused him because he knew he was an only child. But these girls said that his bedroom had been their bedroom, and they lived happily until one horrible night. John opened an attachment in the email that he got, and it was an old newspaper article saying that two sisters were murdered in his hometown. They were lying in bed when an intruder broke in. No one heard anything, and in the morning, the parents found the sisters in the closet. They had been skinned. No intruder or motive was ever found. In this email, these girls said that they were angry that everyone forgot about them, and angry that their parents decided to move on with a new baby, a boy named John. They were angry that their brother never knew about them until now. John, of course, didn't believe any of this, so he sent an email back saying that he knew the newspaper was fake and to stop trying to scare him. But only minutes later, he got another email, and what this email said would terrify him. Follow for part 2.